I'm recording this while I'm taking a walk. Here's thought number one. Whenever I'm walking now in this coronavirus world and somebody is walking in the opposite direction toward me, usually I will move aside to maintain the 6 feet. But just now as I was walking, before I made the move to move aside, the other person moved, and I did feel a rush of power. I got to be honest. I thought, you know what? Yeah, you should get out of my way. I'm important. It's necessary for me to stay alive. I'm not essential at all. What am I saying? I also, if I encounter people as I'm walking or going through life, I now, in addition to moving out of the way, I also look down and I don't even say hi. And I could say hi, I could be polite, but I'm kind of using the coronavirus as an excuse to be even more socially distant emotionally. It's an unparalleled opportunity to go even deeper into my neuroses. This has been great recording this while I'm walking because you get to hear me out of breath and muffled because I'm wearing my 2 masks. I don't think I'm wearing them right though. I've got the ND95, the T1000 mask, whichever one, and then a cloth mask over that. I should have thrown out both and got new ones by now. But I have the first of the 2 vaccine doses, so I'm living on the edge. People, I am living on the edge. That's the one thing that, by the way, that never stopped through this pandemic. No matter how locked down we got, lawn care always continued. America, we're all dead, but our lawns are fantastic. You wouldn't know it from the lawns. I'm also walking uphill. Podcasting while walking uphill, that for me is the most athletic I've been in the past 5 years. Walking up a hill while podcasting. I'm having a real crisis of confidence in myself, which I've actually, in a weird way, learned to love. Because I remember somebody saying, whenever you have a crisis of confidence, if you really feel like you're lost creatively, it means you're right around the corner from a breakthrough. And I've been right around the corner from a breakthrough for, 30, 39? I've been right around the corner for about 39 of those 39 years. Really think it's going to come around. But I'm trying to get to the core of who I am. And the harder I try, the farther away I get from the core of who I am. Self-awareness. That's the problem. I need to get to the point where I'm no longer self-aware. And I'm trying to get to the point where I go by how I feel instead of what I think. Because all I do is overthink. So I'm panicked, and I'm panicked about my future, and I'm scared about my mother and her health. And between those two, I just feel sad. I feel like I'm not seeing any hope on the horizon. That's how I'm feeling. I'm not seeing any hope on the horizon. And I don't know. I don't know what the future's going to be. And I'm frustrated. Because I'm not feeling funny. Yeah, I'm feeling I'm not feeling honest. So whenever that happens, that usually means I have to be miserable for a day or two. So I'm working myself into that. You know, I think I want a house. There, I said it. And I'm frustrated that the kind of house I want, I can't afford. But yeah, I do want a house. I used to, pride myself on not wanting material objects. But I gotta say, the older I get, the more I want kind of my own space. And my plan for getting my own space is to find my authentic comedic voice and somehow trust that the money will come. Which, probably not the best of financial plans. But I don't realize that's how I'm living my whole life. Just kind of going for what I want and hoping it'll work out. But isn't that how we all live our lives? I was listening to another podcast, and the creepy thing about listening to this other podcast was if you take away the detail of what they were talking about, they were talking about the exact same things I was talking about. And I was like, oh God, it's like I'm listening to myself, but it's somebody else. And all the same neuroses that I have in myself, I'm basically seeing in this other person. That's why that's why I like Batman. He's neurotic, but he puts it into being a badass. I'm neurotic, and I'm still afraid, to fly to Denver. That for me, that's a huge physical risk. A lot can go wrong in between Burbank Airport and Denver International Airport. In fear of my life. Yeah, in the neighborhood I walk around, the architecture of the houses is really enjoyable, so I can look at it and feel like even more of a failure and go, I'll really never be able to afford that. That's how I like to spend my afternoons. The whole reason why I'm walking right now is to be healthy, so that if I catch this disease, it won't kill me, so I can keep on living and keep on podcasting for 12 people. Actually, you know what? I was looking at the stats of this podcast, and there's a setting. Apparently they measure the number of downloads differently. There's two different ways to measure it. And I can't remember what the exact name of each one was, but I'll call one way the fantasy measurement, and the other one is the reality measurement. So The fantasy measurement for me is 12 people listening to this podcast. The reality is 5. And when I look at the display on the podcast to switch between the two, it's like a switch you have to flip. I just stopped flipping the switch. Let me have the dream of 12 people downloading this podcast. Let me live in a fantasy world where I have at least double digits. Let that be enough. So, I spend all day telling other comics you have to embrace your identity. My identity. I didn't lose my virginity until I'm 32. And, how do I embrace that in the daily content that I'm supposed to put out? And the challenge is, the reason why I didn't lose my virginity until I'm 32 is that I'm so paralyzed with fear, I really don't do a lot of anything. So there is no content. That's the irony. I mean, then I say to myself, that's a cop-out. That I do things, and things happen to me, so I just have to report about that and trust that that's enough. Like me just talking about taking this walk right now. I'm not sure why anyone would be interested. But I know for sure there's 5 real people and 7 pretend people who care. I've reached the top of the incline where I walk. I saw some deer out here. There's other people around me as I'm doing this, and it probably just looks to them like I'm talking to someone on the phone. And I'm about to get run over by a car because I'm trying to cross. And there's these bends, these blind bends where the cars can't see me. By the way, there is more traffic now. LA is starting to open up again. A lot more traffic now. I think there's going to be a huge boom of people going out and doing things. How am I going to contribute to that boom? I will go back to dining indoors at Starbucks. That'll be my big return to the world. I wasn't really doing much before this. I'll tell you though, I would like to one day go to Japan. I've always been drawn to Japanese culture. The trouble is I don't know what I would do there, because I don't want to do the touristy things. You know what? I want to have a religious experience. That's what I want. I want to go there and have someone or some force, maybe the trees, something, show me the path to enlightenment. And chances are they would say, you don't need to come all the way out here to figure that out. You know that, right? How much did you pay to fly out here for the spirit of Japan to tell you that you just need to be present? It's all right there. You flew all the way out there, all the way out here for that? So that would be the one place I'd want to go to. And then, this is the other weird thing. I've had this urge to go to the Southwest. When I was a kid, my parents took me to Taos, New Mexico. I have this urge to go to Taos, New Mexico, and I have no idea why. I'm having these urges that don't seem to be related to anything. Well, that's not true. Maybe it's related to me trying to seek some spiritual equanimity. But that doesn't feel right either, because what I want more than anything is to make it as a stand-up comedian. And by that I mean, at least 1,000 downloads per podcast instead of 12 or 6, depending on what reality I'm in. But then maybe I'm also wise enough to know that even if I were to achieve that, I would still be miserable, still have my same fears of death, I just stepped on a piece of wood that demarcates part of a front lawn area, moved it slightly, went back, moved it back. I don't want to upset what people are trying to build. I don't want to be responsible for that. I feel too guilty. Also worrying about my overactive bladder / epididymitis situation. My urinary tract, not so good. My urinary tract, it's a shame. Like whenever California goes through a depression or something, they always do road work. I really could have used the California Highway Patrol working on my urinary tract. That whole thing it needs an overhaul. I don't know if it needs more lanes or what. But I'm like urinating more frequently. The urologist doesn't know why that's happening. I posted a video about it, and somebody said, DM me, I have some information. And I couldn't bring myself to DM them. I don't want to talk to someone I don't know about my vas deferens. It seems a bit too intimate. I only want to talk to somebody if they're a medical doctor, so they can say, like my other medical doctor, I don't know what's wrong. I'm also in this place if is any of this funny, which is the trying energy as opposed to the being energy. And I remember Titus saying, don't try to be funny. Do the opposite. When you're in that place, try not to be funny. So I think for the last leg of this podcast, I'm going to try not to be funny. And if you want to keep listening, all 5 to 12 of you, that's fine. Maybe only the fantasy listeners should stick around for this last part. Yeah, I'm worried about my mom. Last time I talked to her, she was doing better. She seemed better. She seemed mentally coherent. But I can't tell if she is at the beginning of having dementia, which terrifies me. And I think it terrifies me because, well, on the one hand, losing her, I think, it's the conversations we had is what we had. And if that doesn't happen anymore, I'm going to miss that. I think my other fear is that something will happen to my dad and that I'll have to take care of her. And I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't think I can. And I know the last thing she'd want to do is be in a nursing home. She'd hate being in a nursing home. So these are the things I'm worrying about. And then she, as she told me, it never turns out the way you think it does. Which, I don't know if that's a threat on my life from her part. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't have dementia. And maybe she's going to live to be 90 and be mentally all there. And maybe I'll get dementia. Or, I guess, what does she mean by that? I don't know. Maybe, with luck, she and my dad will both die swiftly. Is that the prayer we all kind of have deep down? Yeah, with luck, we're all gonna be knocked off in one fell swoop. I don't know what you pray for when you pray to God at night, but that's what we're praying for. Swift death. See, maybe they should treat it like they're the samurai. Maybe they should be looking for that last battle where they can die an honorable death. See, this leads me back to Japan and the samurai. Maybe they need to go on a hopeless quest. Maybe now would be the perfect time for an alien invasion, and somebody says, we need someone to break into the ship and detonate the bomb, and it's a one-way trip and you're never coming back. And Mom's like, oh, hey, my prayers have been answered. 20 minutes. All right. I think this will work. I'm almost hesitate to stop. It's kind of nice walking while doing the podcast. I was driving, but walking is kind of good. I feel like I'm accomplishing something here. I feel like I'm providing quality content for imaginary people. Well, they need to have content, and who knows, maybe those imaginary people are real in another dimension. And somewhere in another dimension they're going, yeah, I like what he has to say. It's relatable. Sure, he's we're interdimensional beings who don't even have bodies, but when he talks about his epididymitis, on some level we're right there with him.